The Charlotte Ledger Podcast is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
This episode is sponsored by Metro Blinds of Charlotte. Window fashion should be fun, not stressful. Want to avoid the big box store chaos? Metro Blinds of Charlotte has the affordable products and installation services that can take the worry out of finding something fun and functional for your window treatments. Schedule an appointment online at metroblinds.net or give us a call at 704-396-9153. Welcome to the Charlotte Ledger Podcast. I'm Ashley Fahey, Managing Editor of the Charlotte Ledger. To find out more about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. I'm joined today by Mathieu, President of the Charlotte campus of Johnson & Wales University. Today, we're talking about the state of higher education, how Johnson & Wales is changing its offerings to address some of the changes and challenges in the industry, and how the university fits within the city's broader culinary scene. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Really appreciate it. I'd like to start just kind of learning a bit about your background and when you kind of came to Johnson & Wales and even maybe to Charlotte.
Okay, very good. I've been in Charlotte now for 10 years. Came here in 2015 after a career in academics as a professor. Graduated from University of Virginia. Spent 12 years at James Madison University as first a full professor in computer information systems and then an associate dean in the business school. Came to Charlotte, Queen's University, McCall School of Business as the dean there and led that school for close to 8 years. I've been in academic administration now for close to 20 years. When the opportunity came here at Johnson & Wales, it was perfect. I love Charlotte. And so Charlotte's just a remarkable city, growing, and being a part of the community. So when the opportunity came here at an institution that is career-focused, has a name and a brand associated with it, very focused on our students, it just felt like a natural fit. And I've been here now for close to 3 years.
Great. Well, can you tell me about how you see Johnson & Wales kind of fitting in the broader ecosystem of higher ed in Charlotte? Obviously, Sure. It's a little unique in some ways, but how do you see it fitting in with all the other universities we have here?
Well, I think it's important to start with our audience with two facts facing higher ed today, and that is anyone looking at the higher ed landscape is concerned with affordability. Everyone knows they want their children, or as a young person, you want to continue your education. But you're looking at the cost, and it's a very real cost, and there's potentially student debt. And so every institution is looking to find ways to be affordable. But it has to be high quality. And in this day and age, that's really about outcomes. It's about jobs, internships, and graduating in a timely fashion. And I'm fortunate to be at an institution that's focused on both of those things. It's exciting to be in a city that has a huge research university. UNC Charlotte has an amazing community college system. And then we've got some outstanding private institutions here in the city that working to address the same issues that I just mentioned. And so we have a great higher ed system here in Charlotte. And I'm hopeful that as a whole, Charlotte becomes more and more known for all of the higher ed opportunities here in the city.
Sure. So you talked about affordability, and that was something was interested in asking you about because, like you said, it's just it's become so top of mind, maybe more than ever. And even some people questioning the value of a college degree. So how do you guys kind of think about that? And are you doing anything differently, I guess, to address that?
Yes. So we've always been focused on, we made a really bold move in the last year and a half, and that is what we call the JWU Pledge. And so this is a pledge to cover 100% of a student's tuition if they are Pell eligible and have a certain GPA coming out of high school. I believe it's a 3.2 GPA coming out of high school. We started off in North Carolina for North Carolina students, but we're now offering it to all students in the United States, no matter where. And by the way, our campus has many students from all across the U.S. So That's a big deal. So tuition, 100% of it covered for Pell eligible students is a big move to address affordability on our part.
So we know obviously higher education, the industry as a whole is going through a lot of change. We know the demographic and enrollment cliff. I think the largest high school graduating class is supposed to be this year. And from that point on, it's going to decline. How do you guys think about that? And how do you see Johnson & Wales trying to remain competitive in that kind of broader environment?
Well, good. I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah, it's on the mind of everyone in higher ed. And so it's about creating a value proposition to attract those to school. What we do know is students and their families are concerned about careers and outcomes. And so you have to figure out where your place is in that. So at Johnson & Wales, we are one of the very top ranked programs in culinary arts. And that is actually why we were originally recruited to come to Charlotte, North Carolina, was for our culinary arts program and to raise the culinary profile here in Charlotte. We have this base of what I would call around food and beverage, but it's more than just educating a chef. When we talk about food, we're talking about health and wellness. You can't talk about food and health and wellness for more than 5 minutes before you're talking about somebody's health and wellness. And then there's the business aspect to all of that. I mean, when you are our number one 4-year major, so our number one, we offer 2 associate degrees, one in culinary arts, one in baking and pastry. Our number one 4-year degree is in food and beverage entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Our young people, they know ultimately to make their career move forward in the food services industry, you need to have business skills and those entrepreneurial skills to.
Is that a recent shift, or has that always been a big program here?
The entrepreneurship has always been a big thing at Johnson & Wales. We've positioned it a little bit differently because we have some amazing faculty who work in this space of entrepreneurship in the food industry that have really generated a lot of excitement.
And what are some of the other programs or offerings that you guys either have recently introduced in the last couple of years or maybe will soon introduce that are trying to build on what today's students are looking for?
So I'll give you 2 examples. One is we have created the very first in the Southeast 3-year program in hospitality management. And so when I say 3-year, it's not an accelerated program. It is 90 credit hours, not 120. So if you have a 4-year degree from an institution in the United States, almost anyone has taken 120 credit hours of courses. So this is one less year of courses in hospitality management. However, how did we get this? How did we get the accrediting bodies to approve this? Because we have integrated into this what we call work integrated learning. Students will be working while they go to school in the field. How are we making that happen? Well, we've worked closely with the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, CRVA, and with the Charlotte HTA, Hospitality Tourism Association. And so we're going to be working with our hospitality partners here in the city. Think about it. That's 1 year, one less year of tuition. And students will be graduating with 3 years of work experience under their belt. That's a winner.
I know one of the headlines is that Johnson & Wales, has seemingly bucked the larger trend of declining enrollment this fall semester. Yes. So how did that happen?
How did that happen? That's a team effort. We have an amazing leadership team here. Okay, so Courtney Campbell leads our admissions team. It's also about retaining students and having them excited to be here. So we have an amazing group of academic leaders that are doing that work. It's also about having, and I believe, understanding who you are. We have a brand around the food and health and wellness. We're also in a thriving urban environment. I mean, we're fortunate to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so I think that helps drive excitement too. So, and we're addressing affordability. So we're affordable. We're in a thriving city, and we have a brand, and we kind of understand who we are.
Speaking of affordability, I know one thing a lot of universities have been thinking about is making sure their students can access affordable housing, especially in a place like uptown Charlotte. We know that there's a lot going on here, a lot of development. How do you think about making sure, even if it's off-campus housing, so to speak, that students have access to affordable housing?
Well, you asked the right question. When you walked in here, did you see some construction going on?
I did.
Okay. So that was the DoubleTree Hotel. We are now running it, and we are converting that. We are in process of converting it into residential housing. And why? Because we know we have a demand for it. And we know that when our students live on campus, they're going to graduate in a timely manner. I will also say that there are times when students choose to live off campus. Well, first, we have some commuters. We do have commuter students who live at home with mom and dad. That's a great option for them. We also have some students who live off campus in apartments somewhere. As you said, that's hard to do close to this campus. So that gets a little bit more challenging. So that's why there's such a compelling argument to create more residential housing on our campus.
When you think about growth, whether it is on the more residential side or other kind of programs or even physical infrastructure, where do you see the next chapter for Johnson & Wales?
In terms of physical infrastructure?
Could be that or programs or really anything.
Well, one program that I haven't mentioned yet is we are expanding our health program. So we've created a accelerated Bachelor of Nursing program that is in the final stages of being fully accredited, but we're in that process. We graduated our first class of nurses this summer. And they are all, my understanding is they're all out in the field working now. So that's exciting. So we are expanding some of our different opportunities there.
This podcast episode is presented by Metro Blinds of Charlotte, affordable elegance for your window treatments. Do you see any other programs or majors that you'd be interested in adding in the coming years?
Oh, we're looking at a few. What I will generally say is I'm a believer in building synergy. So it's like building off of what you're good at. And so one of the fields that we have some real strength in is what we call health science program. This is a program that prepares students to go either directly into the hospitals or directly into grad school, like med school, dental school, pharmacy school, and that sort of thing. So one program that might spin off of that is something in exercise and sports science, where you're having a lot of overlap in the core health courses, but that leads me into our athletic programs are growing pretty significantly on this campus. So we just recently moved to NCAA Division III athletics. That's the division with no athletic scholarships, but we're competing with schools in the region, and but we've added baseball, softball teams just in the last couple of years, and our athletic programs are growing along with it, which is another trend we're seeing nationally for small private schools. Mm-hmm. NCAA Division III, where you're not giving athletic scholarships, is actually growing quite a bit. It's actually quite powerful. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I know I'm not necessarily asking directly about the Queens Elon merger, but we know there's a lot of merger activity in general in higher ed, especially among smaller universities. Is that something you ever see Johnson & Wales exploring? Are you in conversations at all?
Well, we're in no conversations to do that. We have two campuses. We feel like it covers the Southeast for us, covers the Northeast, and it helps us build our brand. So we're in no discussions to do that.
We know we've seen a lot of, federal funding pulled for a lot of higher education institutions, a lot of them being the sort of bigger universities and more research oriented. But how does all that kind of affect and change at the federal level affect how you guys think about how you operate?
Well, I mean, we are always keeping our eyes and ears open to what's going on at the federal level and the state level. Mm-hmm. I think if Johnson & Wales stays to what it's good at, which is career-focused education, I think will be fine in navigating what's going on in higher ed today.
Especially since the pandemic, I feel like you might have a unique view on this. Obviously, hospitality was so affected by the pandemic. Has that changed how you guys approach programs and how you think about curriculum for folks who are heading into that industry?
Yes, I agree with your premise. I do believe the hospitality industry has evolved since the pandemic. And I hear lots of discussions taking place amongst our employers, our faculty, and our students about creating an environment that isn't quite so stressed out, if you will. I think a lot of employers are trying to be smarter about how they work their employers in that world. So, and I know that our faculty are in regular conversation with our employers. And when employers are recruiting, I mean, we have many employers. We have, like, for a career fair on this campus, we have around 100 employers that come on campus for our career fair day. And so they're here actively recruiting our students, and they know in order to recruit our top students, there needs to be a balance to the work life. Our students know how to work hard. And so, but there is a balance between, how hard you work somebody and keeping them in their career.
Absolutely. When you hear from employers, people who current students are working with, or maybe even future graduates might be working with, what are some of the major things you're hearing, and is that informing how you approach some of your programs?
One of the things I think, so obviously there's lots of talk about AI and technology, and obviously we are bringing our students along in that regard. But what I consistently hear is if you can teach young people the interpersonal skills, interpersonal effectiveness, working with a customer to have a good experience, they're going to be successful. And they're hardworking. But hardworking, good customer working relationship, customer experience, they'll have a good career ahead of them. And if I can, let me just give you what I think is a good example. One of the secret sauces, if you will, to what we do here does take place in our kitchen laboratories. Some of it's about teaching how to cook. But more than that, you look into those labs, what you will see is a very diverse group of young people. All backgrounds coming from all over the country, urban country. Put them all together, working in a team, getting up early in the morning. They got a project to work on together as a team, and they got to get it done by noon because that's when the lab ends. And we have amazing faculty that kind of guide that process. And so our faculty are really, really good at kind of, working through all that. And it's a great educational experience. And that's not going anywhere. That's the magic that's not going anywhere.
Great. I want to get back to a point you made earlier about, when Charlotte recruited Johnson & Wales, it was kind of a thought of, let's kind of bring more culinary cachet, so to speak, to Charlotte, especially maybe since you've been in Charlotte, even before your time at Johnson & Wales, and then since you've joined. How do you see Johnson & Wales fitting into that broader picture? And do you think it's kind of helped elevate Charlotte's profile?
Well, we had a dining event on our campus with the Charlotte Epicurean Society that has been around. They've been in Charlotte since the 1980s.
Okay.
So here's what I told them. I said, look, they started the culinary experience in Charlotte back in the 1980s. We came here about 20 years ago, and we helped continue the evolution of what's taking place in the culinary scene today, along with some amazing restaurateurs. I mean, we have amazing chefs and CEOs who lead the restaurant groups here in the city till today. So here, 20 years since we got here, but I'm going to give credit to the people who came before us. Till today, the CRVA, Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, they have several pillars on why people come to Charlotte. Culinary is one of them. Like, they are actively advertising the culinary scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's our Regional Visitors Authority. And not too long ago, within the last year or so, Southern Living magazine listed their top cities, in the South. And when they talked about Charlotte, they talked about the culinary scene here. I don't think you would have heard that 20 years ago or so. Anyone listening to this podcast knows we've got some great restaurants here in Charlotte.
And not to put you on the spot, but can you think of like some notable graduates who have gone on to start some Charlotte restaurants or other food and beverage venues?
Well, I'll just give a couple shout outs. One local, so one that's close to our heart is Kyle Johnson, who's the CEO at Community Matters Cafe. Kyle is an amazing chef. He's decided to focus on the mission of the Community Matters Cafe and the rescue mission. But one of the top chefs. I'm also just going to give a shout out beyond Charlotte for those listeners out there who watch Top Chef. Top Chef last year's winner was a graduate from JWU Charlotte.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a lot of exciting alums.
Speaking of kind of Charlotte's profile growing from a culinary perspective, we know the Michelin Guide came out this week, and Charlotte has a Michelin star now, which is exciting. Many other restaurants were kind of acknowledged. What are your thoughts on what that guide or what that recognition does for Charlotte's food scene? Does it put us more on the map, so to speak?
Yeah. So one of the pleasant opportunities being the president here at Johnson & Wales Charlotte is I do get to be around people that travel the world eating food. And I will absolutely tell you that they're excited about what's going on in Charlotte around the food scene. And I think one of the reasons they support our campus is because they do know the impact we've had.
Absolutely. So kind of coming full circle here, what's next? What else do you hope to accomplish? I know we talked about some of your future goals and things you'd like to see, but what else haven't we covered?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole intersection between food, health and wellness, and hospitality is something that is enduring. It's something that from a university perspective, an academic perspective, really kind of making a bigger name for ourselves in fields like food science. We have a food science program. We have a culinary nutrition program. But being increasingly visible in that space where you're, what we eat relates to our health, food, and then you wrap that all around this hospitality and business. Food isn't just the food you eat, it's how it's presented. It's how we use it to bring people together, to bring a community together, to bring a family together. And just being intentional about seeing food as more than just the preparation of it, but kind of a North Star of what we're all about.
Great. Anything else that you'd like to say or mention?
Yes. So what I do want to talk a little bit more about, the whole career aspect of the university and jobs and internships. Being in an urban environment, at most of our students, by the time you're a junior or senior at Johnson & Wales, you're working somewhere. So being in Charlotte is really a blessing for our campus, for our students, because they are out working while they're going to school. Being engaged with our employers, being engaged with the city, with the community is a big deal. Yes.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Oh, good.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. For more information about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. This episode was produced by Lindsay Banks. This episode was presented by Metro Blinds of Charlotte, delivering high-quality window fashions and professional sales and installation while saving you up to 30% on big box pricing.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.